Hey guys, welcome to Skenergy episode 2. My name is Brokenshard, and this time I am joined by the lovely, the suave, the magnificent
Yeah, that was enough.
Jorge Casanovas, better known as Masto King, but probably better known as SK Werlyb. Welcome to the show, my friend. The killer of Toplane, the poppy main, Jorge Casanovas, and there's cheers. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For those of us or people at home who don't know, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself? What brought you to League of Legends? Like, how did it all start for you? Just tell us a bit about yourself.
My name is Jorge Casanovas, but I'm known as Werlyb, as you said. And yeah, basically I have been playing League of Legends for many years, since beta.
Beta, okay.
Yeah, like kind of beta season 1, many years. Right now I'm top laner for SK Gaming, but in the past I've been playing for many different teams. I think I just started as a hobby, you know, like I guess most
We'd all started as a hobby, yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't even know this was possible. Like 10 years ago, I think no one knew this was even possible. Probably back at that time, it was not even possible. So yeah, I was just playing a lot, playing with family, with friends. And then, you know, one day you realize that you are too good for them. And it's kind of boring to play with your friends. I mean...
You're too good for that, okay,
no,
sure.
it's true. You know, like
yeah,
friends,
that's true,
it's kind of boring. You are like, you know, this is not fun anymore. And you just play alone. And step by step.
Step by step, you kind of get up there. Obviously, no one started playing the game thinking, you know what? I'm going to go pro, guys.
I mean, man,
Nowadays, actually, that's true. Because it's become so popular. But I'm talking about 2010. Game just come out. No one's sitting and installing League of Legends saying, I'm going to be a pro player. That didn't happen back in the day.
Yeah.
So you're Spanish.
Yeah, it's Spanish.
And currently we're in Germany. You're playing for a German team. And you played in the German league. But that's not what you always did in the past. You played in many different Spanish teams. You played also in the LCS at one point for Giants Gaming. You also, at one point, were playing for several EU Challenger teams, like Huma, for example, who made it to the qualifiers as well. So you've basically had quite a long, maybe not as long as others, but you've played for quite some time and in different leagues. How has that been for you? Like, obviously you came to the German league in a strange time because you came at transition period where they're going from the old to a new league, and in the middle they had to quickly make something, and obviously the format wasn't that great. So maybe less about the leagues, but talk to me about the types of players that you played against. How was it like to play against any German players or players that you played against recently that you would say impressed you or something like that?
I mean, I felt like the biggest difference was that in Spain, at least I feel like there are like some top teams and there are like not top teams. And then when you play against them, you already know it and you go with more confidence and you kind of know what you're going to expect from that team. But I felt like in Germany it was kind of random, like almost every team can win and there is only like really few teams that are actually bad compared to the others, but there are actually many teams that can get a win.
There's a lot more good teams, yes.
Exactly, and it's also like, it's more like packed, you know, it's more like... it's not so divided, you know, into good teams and bad teams.
That's true. I mean, when you played on Mad Lions last year, it felt like I also was competing against you in the Spanish scene in the beginning of the year. It felt like at the very top there was Mad Lions undisputed at the top, and then it was like Movie Star Riders and Giants, and then everyone else. Like everyone else was really, really bad. But at least now in the German scene, it seems like you're right. There's better players or more better teams. But obviously, coming at the end of this year, you played in the LEC and in the National League. I'm mostly looking to ask, like, if there's a player, because obviously you've played against many different top laners over the last few years. Who did you enjoy most playing against in both the LEC and non-LEC? Like, who was the guy that you were really like, holy crap, this guy is so good? Or did you notice anything about that? Anyone that played super good like that in German League or in the LEC?
I will start with LEC. I think the first one I remember actually was SS, but the first one that I saw and I felt like, oh, this player is different was Alfari, like 2 years ago maybe. The way he played the lane and the way he manipulated waves and so on, it made me realize, you know, that, oh, this guy is actually doing something that I'm not doing. It was actually the first guy that made me realize that I could be much, much better. And this year, I would say, I mean, you know, people will say that it's typical, but it's actually true. it's like a wonder.
Yeah,
I felt
was
like
expecting
he
you
was
to
really
say
good. He was like knowing how to abuse the matchups, and even in many scrims, you know that it's like not as serious. Still, you could see as even if he was behind, if he was like playing a different champion or trying new stuff, the way he played and the high mechanics he has, like I think it's very hard to find a player like him.
I think one thing that I remember specifically is when you played against him when we beat them. I remember when we came back in the end, you were playing Poppy into Werlyb, and I remember because I was listening to comms and you said this guy plays Werlyb like I never saw anyone play Werlyb like this before.
Yeah, because for example in that game I remember that I played that matchup many times.
Yeah, and it's a matchup you wanted. You wanted
exactly.
this matchup.
I wanted the matchup. I know, you know, in phase I'm gonna be behind, but later I'm gonna be more useful. The thing is, he knew exactly how to abuse every single moment. In a normal case, I'm like 26 behind, let's say. In that case, I would be like maybe 70. So the thing is, he knows how to abuse it. He knows how to put the pressure into the map because he knows ways for jungle. Because not only him is very, very good, also the team, you know. And I felt like, you know, I'm not capable of doing this kind of, like abusing this match in lane. And that made me realize that he's super good.
It's interesting that you mentioned these two top laners because I would consider them, Alfari and Wonder, to be on the younger end of top laners. Like they're the new generation of top laners. If you would compare Wonder and Alfari to players like Odoamne and Soaz, it's like the new guard versus the old guard, even though they've been playing for some time. How do you feel like? Do you feel like they have revolutionized in a way how top lane is being played?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of different. It's also because, for example, versus Soaz, I've played versus him many times, so for me it's nothing new. I also don't feel like Soaz is someone who's gonna abuse your lane. I don't feel like that.
Or maybe not that. Whippo, for example, this guy is an absolute maniac in lane, but I would put him on the new generation. How are they different? Like, what separates them? What makes them better? What makes them worse?
I feel like, for example, young, you know, like new players, new in a way, like these last 2 years maybe, they are more like, I'm not gonna say they don't care that much about youngest, but they are more like proactive. They are more like aggressive. Like they're very aggressive. Like I feel like when you have played for many years, you cannot do a balance, and you're like, okay, maybe it's not worth to take this trade.
Yeah.
Because if I die into a gank, I'm gonna lose much more than if I don't. But I feel like these players many times they can risk it. And for example, Whippo is the best example. You know, like many games you see him and you are thinking like this guy is kinda intent, no? But also other games, he's so good at it. He knows how to put pressure, like enough pressure to make jungle go there, to make jungle be waiting in the bush, but he doesn't die. And that's something super valuable for the team because he creates time. So I feel like I would say that new players takes more risk overall, and veteran players are more like carefully, and also like I feel like they probably, because you know I haven't played with other top laners in the team.
Yeah.
But I feel like probably they give more in the team in like experience, macro game, and like knowing how to solve, you know, situations. Because at the end, when you have played for 6 years, you know, like competing for 6 years,
you've seen it all.
Yeah, you can kinda like you have almost experienced every single case.
As a top laner yourself, what do you value? Do you value like, okay, a lot of people see top laner as like the rock of the team, like he should be a consistent player. Do you value that safe playstyle, or do you think that the aggressive, almost inting playstyle that Whippo has versus the very mechanical playstyle that Wonder has, do you think that that's more valuable, or what would you say is what would be the ideal top lane for you? Obviously, you can say one that knows both sides, but it's difficult to master that.
The thing is, I don't feel like, I mean, I wouldn't say both sides, but I would say that it depends on the team. Like if I want to play in a team that I know that my mid lane is insane, he's super good, he plays super aggressive, and I know that my jungle goes to mid lane, they are almost always gonna win 2v2. I'm totally fine, you know, like playing defensive, playing you know, a more like defensive role of just like going team fights and macro game, blah 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 blah. But if, for example, I'm playing with like you know, players that I know that maybe they are good at team fights or they are good at playing late game champions and so on, you know, I think it's also important as a top laner to know how to play champions, to abuse, to play super aggressive. I wouldn't say it's that much about the player. I would also say it's more about the team. You know, if you have a player who plays super aggressive, but the other two lanes play super defensive, and the jungle, you know, can cover that lane, I think that's totally fine. Yep. The problem is if you have 3 lanes who play super aggressive like monkeys, then probably the enemy jungle is gonna have you know,
this is gonna go 10-0 basically.
Exactly. So then it's like, I don't feel it's that much about the playstyle, it's about how do you play as a team.
So you would mostly say that the top laner is the most versatile. He should be being able to adapt to every situation.
Yeah, I think so. For example, an AD carry, you know, I don't feel like, okay,
you kind of know what you're getting out of an AD carry.
Yeah, at the end, you know, it's the matchup, you know, champion, you know, okay, if I get 3 items, I'm gonna
Beast.
decent team fight, Toplane is kind of different.
So, two of our players from SK Prime are now playing in the LEC. Sacre, who replaced you, and Genax, who is now up there. First off, talk to me about Sacre. Like, I know you guys are very close. I've seen you work together as well when he was in-house. Talk to me, what do you think about him, like, as a player?
I mean, as a player, I would say I know him enough. I don't know him that much because I feel like it's kind of different to... Like, first of all, I feel like he has changed a little bit in the last months, and I think that's normal. Like, I think especially when you go first time into like high level, like LEC or SCS back in the time, I feel like you actually change a lot because you play versus players who know how to abuse. Because, for example, he was probably the best or one of the best.
For context,
outside of
context,
SCS,
he was like 150, 200 CS up in most matchups in the National League against top players.
Normal matches, he was winning and so on. For example, I think he was like the best, one of the best abusers out of the CS. But also, he was playing versus people who is not that good at abusing bad matches as Fari, Wunder, blah 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 blah. So I feel like you actually learn a lot when you go there. I think he's good because I think like in the past, for example, I saw him that he was not good at playing weak side.
Yeah.
Like when team was winning for both sides, he would die or he would be really behind or he would be asking for a lot of attention. I don't know how it's that right now because I don't have the communication, but I feel like it's going fine. Like I don't see him suffering when they play for bowling. I also feel like they cannot play for him like decently, like a lot, and I think that's smart because I feel like he back in with your team, SK Prime, you guys always play for top side. So for me, it will be kind of weird, if you guys take him to the main roster and then you
don't play around him. Yeah,
it would be like
it's weird,
stupid, because he's a guy who is used to play for him. So I saw him nice. I remember the first game. I think he was really nervous because the first game, is when I was like more fresh of the situation, so I wanted to see how he was playing, and I was, checking everything, and I could see that he was nervous, but that's totally normal. I was also nervous, and I've been competing for many years.
Yeah.
But I felt that he was actually like going better with the time, and I think he did fine. Like I think
he's hardworking, and some people refer to him as a baby wonder because that's kind of his play style. He is a lane dominant player. He likes to play those weird champion mages that Wonder plays very similarly. Doesn't play Aurelia, unfortunately, like Wonder does. But I think there is a lot of similarities. And you're right, he is improving. But the one that I really want to talk about is Genax, because we've talked a lot about him. He's playing in the LEC now. Tell me about Genax. What was your impressions of him coming in? Obviously, when you were in the LEC and you watched some of our games, and then you got to play with him. And then talk to me a little bit about Genax.
I mean, for me, I actually remember after the season, I was expecting Genax to at least be with us in the like a 6th, 7th player, whatever, but I thought it was like obvious he was gonna come with us because I felt like we had so many like communication issues, having 2 Koreans is always not as easy as having 5 Europeans and so on. And also Genax, with Sacre, they were obviously the 2 good pillars of SK Prime the last season. And I saw it clear, that he should be at least having the chance to fight for the spot. And actually I was surprised, when at the start they didn't get him. When we were playing the first weeks with SK Prime, I realized that he knows how to carry games. Like he knows how to go 10-0, and carry a game. He knows how to say, "Hey guys, I need this in a team fight," or "No, play for me, cover me because I'm gonna win the game a lot." And I feel like that's important. Like when you have a mid-laner, not always, but you need him to be able to carry. Like some games you need to rely on him, and I feel like he has it. Also, I think he has a really good mentality, good attitude. I like him a lot overall, and. Yeah, like I feel like the team was totally different when actually they finally decided to give him the chance and so on. I feel like the team improved a lot, and yeah, I would have liked to see him from the start because I feel like he's a really good mid laner. Like he has like level for sure.
You've played with a lot of rookie mid laners actually in your career. In the beginning, you had Godbro, then you had Nemesis actually at one point, and then Genax. How does he compare to Nemesis? Because Nemesis is the big name now. He's in Fnatic. He's widely considered as the best of the 3 rookies that came in between him, Humanoid, and Abedage. How would you compare the 2? How are they different? How are they the same? Who would you rather have on your team, like as a player?
I mean, obviously I would choose Nemesis, not only because I feel like he's probably the better, but also we are like friends. I know him already, so it would be easy to work with. Yeah. I feel like he has changed a lot. I remember he has always been insane in mechanics, like always really insane. But he was really stubborn at the start. Like he was really stubborn. He has never played in a team. He was very good in solo queue. But many times, there was like macro things or overall things, to like improve or anything. And he was maybe so stubborn at the start, like he couldn't see them, But I'm talking about like 1 year and a half ago and like a lot of time ago. But I feel like since he changed that, I feel like he has been improving. I also even see him more mature, I would say. Like, I don't know he's done well, but when I talk with him, I feel like he's more like, I don't know, I see him and
growing.
Like, you have changed, like in a better way. And also his play style, I like it a lot because I feel like he's the kind of player who, like, imagine, I don't know, you play solo queue and then you play versus Rengar Milling, imagine. It's not gonna happen, but that's an example. And then that Rengar as well, he will be like actually like reading a lot about why, about like even he will go to Rengar one trick pony in Reddit or whatever, he would try it. And then that's why he has like, I think he has insane champion pool overall. Like he can play many kind of strength champions or weight champions and many different styles.
I guess that's very similar to Gen X, that they both actually play a lot of good champions. Nemesis has his TF mid, which he was kind of revolutionizing with the Klepto. Gen X has his Renekton mid, for example, which is one of his signature picks. So do you think that rookies, it's becoming a common trend that they're kind of coming in with a really fresh mindset? Do you think that this fresh mindset that allows them to kind of see the game differently is putting them above veteran players?
I think so. I think
would you say, is that their biggest key to success? They're willing to learn?
Obviously, because if you have a rookie and he's not, willing to learn, then you got a wrong rookie.
Exactly, it's the wrong player.
You always, in my opinion, you should always try to find a balance between like mature players, like, I don't know, players with 22, 23, 24, 21, or at least players who, like are mature, who know how to like handle situations, who, are not gonna create conflicts and so on with young players that they also like, they only wanna play with players, who has already experienced a lot, like years, and they are also like playing a lot, but they don't wanna get burned up, like, I think that there must be a mix, like inside the game, but also outside of the game. I think it's also important. I think if you put 5 rookies, that team is gonna probably explode, it's not gonna work unless you unless you have a really good coach and psychologist.
Misfits Academy, for example, playing in the LEC, the explosive, good and bad.
Yeah, maybe.
There was no balance.
I don't know how it's, the team inside, so I cannot really tell. But like I think a balance is always the right thing. Also, for example, for me as a player, it's legit. For me, for Swap, for anyone, it's impossible to keep exactly the same motivation as the first day I went into LCS, like it's normal. I've been playing 5 years in a row with maybe stopping 1 month, each year, blah, 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 blah. But that's why you want a rookie, that you see him and you are like, oh, I was like this 4 years ago, and then he motivates you to play, and then it's like a mix. Like you can teach him as if he was your small brother.
You actually mentioned now that you played 5 years no break, and we've also spoken in the past that you said that you've been living in gaming houses since you were 15 or 16? 16. So you're in your 20s now. That's a long time, and now in this split you were playing a little bit from home. Sometimes we came here to the beautiful Magenta facility of SK, which is badass, by the way. Talk to me a little bit about that, like living in gaming houses in your life and then being able to play from home. Like, tell me about like how that helped your mentality and your burnout and everything. Like, how was that experience for you?
I feel like for sure a team should work together. Like they should work in the same environment. But I also feel like, and I also believe that they shouldn't live in the same place that they work. For example, right now it's less and less common that this is happening. Like there are many teams with visits and so on. But in the past, every single team had gaming houses. And I think that's really bad, like for everything.
Long term, yeah.
Yeah, long term. Obviously at the start you save time, you don't need to go to the office, like you are all friends. But it's normal that you have like these small fights, or that you just get tired of someone. Like if that happens with your friend, with your best friend, obviously it's gonna happen with someone that you don't even know deeply, So for me, it's like for sure you must like work in the same place if you wanna like improve and you wanna be a top team. But for example, I would also think, and I would also like teams and like players overall, because I would say teams, but I feel like this especially should come from players to be more social, to do more stuff than just playing. Because when I was like 17, I could play 14 hours a day, and I would only play. And when I was 18, I could play 13 hours, But I don't wanna spend my whole young life only playing, like not having social life.
People need to grow up. They need to experience life.
Exactly. And I feel like there's a mix, like obviously you need to play a lot, like you need to sacrifice things. Obviously, I have lived that all my life, but at the same time I feel like if you plan it correctly, you can also go out sometimes. You can go dinner as a team. You can make fun activities, and I feel like there must be a mix, because otherwise, everyone is really motivated, but not everyone can be motivated after 6 years.
Exactly.
If you are only playing, because if you only play, imagine you are winning everything. You're gonna be really happy. You're gonna be super motivated, but it's impossible unless you are God.
When you put your whole life into league and it doesn't work out, it can affect your mentality. That's why balance is important.
Exactly. Not even Faker, for example, always wins. So imagine if you only play, and you are putting all your happiness and all your life into playing in a team game. Like sometimes you can even play good and you will lose. Like that happens. So I don't feel like it's right or it's even good for you and for your mentality to put everything into playing and into result. I feel like there must be a balance in your life.
Speaking of balance, we actually had Frank on as the first guest of the show, and we talked a little bit about physical fitness. And I know that you go to the gym quite often. How important would you say is physical fitness, not just for you, but for athletes in general? Obviously, I could spend some more time at the gym, and you spend quite a bit of time at the gym. But talk to me, like you work out. Does it help you? Do you think it's important? Do you think other players should look to do it more often? Other teams should look to make programs for players.
I feel like it's super important. If I would be like coach or like any important, charge in a club,
manager,
I will make it like not mandatory, like at least once or twice per week. Like I'm not saying, guys, I want you to be like the next model.
Shredded,
of Calvin Klein. No, that's not the idea. But like at least I feel like it's really important. First of all, because as I said, there's people who, they move and so on, but there's also people who only play, and it's really bad to be in a chair for like 12, 14 hours and not doing any exercise. Like at least, stretch, at least do some cardio, go to the gym 20 minutes, play a sport, like you don't need to go to a gym, just play some football, play some basketball, anything that you like. I think it's very important. For me personally, it's very important in many ways. For example, if you have a bad day, you go into screens, you go 0.5, 0.6, really bad day. But at least if you went to the gym or if you did some sport, if you, read a nice book, if you did something apart from that, at least, it's not a waste day. Because some days in sports life, you feel like this day was useless. It was even, worse. And like yesterday, we were better and we were like happier and everyone was in a better mood than today. So you feel like a day was a waste. But at least if you say, okay, I woke up early, I went to the gym, and, I studied this or I read this or I did something different, I feel like whatever happens that day, at least you did something.
The routine kind of pushes through the up and down. It makes things consistent.
Exactly. And also because like for the stress and so on, it's normal that there are like conflicts, there are like fights, there are like out of pressure, important match, or because you are not playing as good as you should, or as a team, you guys are not, understanding each other, blah, 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 blah. Like there are many samples, and I feel like that's important, to liberate the body and the mind especially.
A lot of people have pegged you at one point as a Jax one trick. Back in your days of Giants or Huma, like if you got Jax, that's it. Game was over. You won the game. But what actually is your favorite champion to play?
To play? Yeah. Actually, I would say that probably Fiora.
Fiora? Okay.
Yeah. So I feel like it's kind of like Jax, but I think it requires more skill. Let's say. And it's like, I feel like the outplays that you can make are like cleaner than Jax. Like, I love playing Jax, but many times I just feel like, there's not like a huge combo.
It's a very simple champion. You just run at the person, he dies. But Fiora, you have outplay potential. You can W. I can understand that.
Yeah, I would say Fiora. For example, I love Hikarin and so on, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite champion. Yeah. My favorite champion I would say is Jax, but the champion that I enjoy more.
Yeah, like, you're not your favorite champion. What do you enjoy to play the most? Like, if you were going to go into a game and your sole goal was to have the most fun you could have playing your role, what would it be?
I would say Fiora.
Fiora. That's a good one. Fiora is really fun. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Worlds. It's kind of at the end of the year. We're getting there. Some teams have already locked in their qualifications. G2, TL, C9, Griffin finally made it to Worlds. If we're going to ignore EU, no EU teams, who are you most excited to see at Worlds? Or who would you like to see the most at Worlds? Of any team. Any region.
Being honest, I'm curious about how will Griffin do, because
that's true. Yeah.
They always do so good, but when it comes to like going to an international event or going to Worlds, they don't even make it, or if they make it, they cannot show.
They never went to an international event. Griffin didn't go once.
Once?
Nope. They choked every single time at the last minute. This is the first time that we will see Griffin at an international event. The one that you're thinking of is Kingzone. Kingzone was the hyped one, and they go to Worlds and they choked at Worlds. But Griffin actually never made it to an international event. This is the first time we'll see them.
Okay, so now I'm even more
excited for them.
Excited. Especially because when they were like, because I mean, right now obviously they're like top team, but there was a point that they were like the best team by far, like at the start of the.
They're kind of like the G2 of Korea.
Like really insane. And back at that time, I was a gamer, like watching all the games, like starting the top laner, how he was playing, like
Sword.
I really studied in that top lane and mid lane and how Jungle was buffing and everything so much that I want to see, now, because for example, last weeks, last months, I haven't watched their games.
Yeah.
But I actually studied them a lot, so I'm curious to see them, how they do now.
It's interesting that you mentioned Sword because for me, Sword is always like a really basic top laner. He plays a lot of basic champions, Sion, Urgot, and this is his best playstyle. The team that I'm actually most excited to see, if they can make it to Worlds from Korea, is Damwon Gaming. They have Nuguri and they have Flame.
I like Nuguri a lot.
Nuguri and Flame, like this is the perfect strong side, weak side combo, and they both have good carry potential. But obviously Flame, well-known player, actually his form is good. He plays good, but Nuguri, this guy is crazy. The best Ryze and the best Vlad I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah, he's very insane actually.
This guy I think is one of the best top laners in the world. Obviously the Shy from IG, well-known, but I want to see if Damwon can make it to Worlds. That's the team I'm looking at.
I would like to, actually.
Showmaker, Nuguri, but it's complicated. In Korea, you have SKT, you have...
almost every single team is, like you would like to see them. But for example, I said Griffin, not because I feel like Sword, is the best. Actually, I don't think so. But, I studied him. Like, I was watching the team a lot. I was watching, like, how they draft,
how he plays,
how they pick, how he plays. Even though some games, he was just playing Sion.
Yeah, but how he plays Sion.
Yeah, and you can say, everyone can do that. Yeah, but I don't feel like everyone can just play Sion in the best team in the world,
He was the best Urgot and Sion from Korea 100%. And I know it's, best Urgot, best Sion, that's like the best at walking. Most people can do that. But, yeah, there are certain things that he did special on those champions.
And not only like, how he plays Sion, but how he goes into team fights. When does he choose to go in? How exactly he is in team fights? Who is he covering? Who is he flanking? And so on. Like this small thing. I was actually like always watching him and overall like watching Griffin overall. So I want to see them.
Who is of all time your favorite player? It doesn't have to be a top player. Who is your favorite player of all time? League of Legends.
I don't think I have one, to be honest. Like if it would be in Europe, I would say Perks.
Perks, yeah, okay, that's a good one.
For sure. I don't know, I like him a lot. I feel like it's insane that he can.
Yeah, I also think he's the best player in EU. Maybe not at an individual skill level, though he has very high individual skill, but he can play so many things. But yeah, I think that's a good one. That's a good choice.
I don't feel like I have any. I don't know. I know that.
Is there a player that you really look up to?
Not really. That's the thing. I overall, not only in esports. Like overall, I don't really have people that I see and I say and I think I want to be like this guy. Doesn't happen.
Okay, that ends the initial part of the podcast. Now we get the really spicy stuff. Jax or Poppy?
You made these questions?
Madrid or Barcelona? This was one for you.
For what?
Madrid or Barcelona?
Oof.
We got him good.
Barcelona.
Nice. Barcelona. Smartcast or no smartcast? Okay. Gank top lane or gank bot lane?
Obviously, gank top lane.
Tanky or squishy?
Squishy.
Squishy. Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Poppy. Better bot lane wins, better jungler wins?
Both.
What do you mean both? Pick one. Jungle or bot lane? Who carries games more? You're playing solo queue, you lose the game, you're mad, you're pissed, you just want to let out some steam, you write in chat, better, what wins?
Jungle.
Okay. Pizza or pasta?
Nowadays I would say pasta, but in the past I would say pizza.
Okay. Infernal or mountain?
Oof.
I got him.
I mean, depends on the comp, but...
No, there's no depends on the comp. What do you want?
I like the mountain a lot.
The mountain drake, okay. Stun or taunt?
Stun.
Okay. Flash on D or flash on F?
BSC plus ND.
Good boy. Spicy or not spicy?
Not spicy. Hate spicy.
Spanish person doesn't like spicy. Okay. Too hot or too cold? What do you prefer? You prefer it to be hot or cold?
Hot.
Yeah, right. I like that one too. I mean, you kind of said it before. Caps or perks?
Perks.
Okay. Heal or shield?
Shield. Because you cannot play easier. Like, heal has not a player. Like, you just press heal.
Skin or no skin?
Usually I play with skin, but it depends. Like, there are some champions that look better.
He's really bad at this. Like
he's supposed to.
You're supposed to be one or the other. What do you want?
Okay.
Skin or no skin?
Skin?
No skin. Okay, skin. AD or AP?
AD.
Okay, and now the most important question: Maokai or Cho'Gath?
Maokai.
There we go. We love the Maokai. Thanks everybody for watching. Obviously, thanks Werlyb for coming on board and talking to us a little bit and entertaining us. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a great night.